At Decospan, we're rooted in craftsmanship. And today, we're unleashing the spirit of wood with a very special guest with us here today, where we're going to dive into his history with the special wood veneer and where all his ideas came from to make Decospan the company it is today. Stay tuned.
Rooted in connection. Rooted in design. Rooted in nature. Rooted in craftsmanship. Rooted in innovation. Join us and explore the spirit of wood. Welcome to Rooted In, a Decospan podcast.
Hi, and with us today we have Jan Desmet, entrepreneur and visionary, a part of the second generation of Decospan. You were CEO until 2017. You were
18,
for about 40 years. Yeah. President of the board until 2023. President of Fidustria, which is the association for the textile and wood industry in Belgium from 2022 to 2025. And I also have here written on these notes, and I'm for the people who don't know, I'm interviewing my father. Extremely passionate about wood, and you accomplished to instill that passion in the 4 out of your 4 children. So I think that's also a major accomplishment as well in your career. Anything I'm forgetting?
I don't think so. I think you described the whole thing very well.
And I'm Marieke Desmet, daughter of Jan Desmet, sitting here in front of me, and senior product manager at Decospan. I'm going to say Papa because it's very strange to say Jan to my own father here sitting in front of me. But Papa, where does your passion for wood come from? What is your earliest memory? Where did it all start for you?
Well, it started the same way as it did for you. The passion came through my father. My father was an entrepreneur, visionary entrepreneur in his days when he started his flaxboard company, and deriving from that chipboard and veneer board and fire-rated doors and all that. So he was in the wood business from the very early days of his career. And he gave it on to his children, and we try to do the same thing to our children, not with the focus of them wanting to do it, but with the focus that they inherit passion. And whether it's passion for wood or whether it's passion for glass, or it doesn't really matter, but of course we are proud that this passion went on with wood. But I remember me being a child, going out with my father to veneer companies in Belgium, buying veneer. Because my father did a weekly trip. These were the habits of these days, buying veneer. So he went out, looked at veneer pallets with suppliers in Belgium. And he bought this pallet and that pallet. And there was the microbe or the worm that bait us. I think it's better to use the term worm in the wood business. So we were bitten by the worm, and that's where the passion came from.
And straight away the passion came to using veneer rather than, because we generalize wood maybe a bit. We have veneer and solid wood. Maybe for our listeners, can you explain again the difference between veneer and solid wood, and how did the focus on veneer came into play in your life?
Well, as I mentioned, veneer was already used in the company of my father. They processed veneer as a product, mainly in furniture components, because there was in those days a lot of furniture industry in Belgium who needed cut-to-size furniture components. In those days, at the early days of Decospan then, we did not glue solid on board. We only did it a couple of years after we started. So we were in board and veneer. Solid, we've never been in solid panels, but we've been in solid edge banding. But the focus was, of course, veneer. And so there was no alternative. And Menotex, that was the name of the company of my father, did not do melamine boards, whereas in those days melamine was also an industry that started to come. We did not do melamine board. We did do veneer board, and we did paint boards, and we did all these kind of things, but not melamine. So I guess that's where our interest and our passion came from. And of course, the entrepreneurship we got was also something given by the parents we had, because my father was a real entrepreneur, but only in the early 70s got a big car accident, which turned his life into a different life. And we got a second father. He was a different man after the accident than before. That's why we stepped into the family company pretty early. When the company Menotex split up in two divisions, the baseboards and the finished product. In the early 80s, because our company started in 79, we did numerous products. We made painted board, we made veneer board, we made ceilings, we made fire-rated doors, we made partitionings, we made all these kind of products. Too much for a small company. And one of the first things we did was we're going to focus. We're gonna stop doing all these products, and we're gonna focus on, the choice was made on focusing on veneer. And so from that point, we specialized and we broadened our scope based on the veneer product.
And that was from the 80s on then?
And that was from exactly 1983.
1983, okay. And do you know where veneer came into life of your father? Because it's not something you come across very often.
In those days, you did come across that much more often. Mm-hmm. Furniture was made from solid lumber and was from there on developed with veneer once the veneer slicing came into the world. They started slicing veneer in the 1800s. That's where it started. So, because they found by using solid in furniture, that solid did work a lot more than a board with veneer on.
Working in terms of it wasn't stable.
Humidity, warping, all these things that come with solid were problems. And people tried to overcome them. And they could by diminishing the thickness of the wood. But then there were no board in the 1800s, so they started making plywood because that's peeled veneer that they put in different layers onto a board. And from there on, you got the flax board, which was made from the waste of the flax plant. And then you got wood board made out of chips. And then you got MDF made out of fiber and so on. So these were the developments, but the scope we had was veneer and getting specialized into veneer. And I think it has proven that with Decospan, we've achieved after 45 years, because 46 years now, that focusing is extremely important to develop a product that can broaden your product range, but instead of going too wide, more into depth, where wood is utilized in all different kinds of forms, so we can bring beauty of the nature into the house of everyone, because that's basically our mission. Although we never told it to people, now we start telling it to people, but we want to bring the beauty from nature into the life of everyone.
Yeah, that's a beautiful mission. And you've talked already about the focus there was that was invoked in the 80s on the product portfolio. But how, after that, how have you seen veneer evolve over the past 46 years? Has it changed a lot?
Oh, the product veneer has... it's something I blame to the veneer industry. Veneer has not changed in the last 50, 60 years. They might have made it a little thinner, and they might have cut it a little faster, But in the end, and I'm sorry for the wording I'm going to use, the shit we sometimes get from our suppliers is something that they don't take the pride enough into their fingers to make product better year after year. What I don't expect is that they make the tree better, because the tree is a product of nature. And we have a slogan in Decospan that says, wood has no defect, wood has character. Which means that whatever the tree is giving us, it's nature that gives us. And we should not be the people judging, it's nice, it's beautiful. No, it's nature, it's the tree. What makes it for us a little difficult is that the character we have to bring to people should be reproducible. Meaning that if we give a sample to someone, we should be able to reproduce a sample. And if you get a natural feature in the wood, which is particular, because it's unique, you can't reproduce it. And if your sample has something that you can't reproduce, people expect it to supply the sample, which you can't. So what we have to do is we have to make boards that we can reproduce and show almost what they've got as a sample. Never exactly, because we don't do that. We don't produce 2 times the same board. We don't have that. We will never have that. We have unique boards.
But that's a contradiction in essence that you're saying, that it's always going to be very hard to show something to the customer, to show a sample that they can build their project on, but then in the end, potentially get a board that is a little bit different then.
Yeah, but I understand, and I do really understand that the end user is not always understanding that. The one who has to bring the message to the end user is the architect. The architect has to mention to people, you choose wood, you choose a unique product. It's not gonna be the same as the sample. If you want to know what you're gonna get, come to our factory, you look at the veneer, you choose the bundles you want, and we're gonna make your product. Then you get what you have seen before we made the product. But in the world, we cannot sell all the boards to people that have seen the board before we made it. So that is why our product ranges have to have similarity. And this is why it's so important. And that's something I try to teach to all the people we have in our company, that we should not go too far to the right or too far to the left. Meaning, it should not be too close to perfectness. Perfectness in the meaning that it's all the same. But it should also not be on the left-hand side being so unique that you can't reproduce even the shadow of it. Mm-hmm. So I think it's important that people understand that, and that our salespeople understand that, and that our customers start understanding that. But the cascade we have from us as a producer to the end user buying the furniture or the project, there is a lot of people in between. And if somebody forgets to tell about it, well, we have a problem, or we may have a problem. And that's why it's so important that we as a wood industry, we all sing the same song. We give you a unique product. It's a tree that has taken 100, 120, sometimes 200 years to make itself what it is. Who are we not to respect that? We should be the people respecting these 100, 200 years of work to develop a product that has also a lifespan of hopefully also 200 years, because that tree deserves it.
Yeah. And over your lifespan in the company, or over your experience in the company, you've introduced some new things like brands, which is something that we introduced in veneer panels in 2007, 2008. How did this help with this challenge that of uniqueness of the board?
It started basically earlier. I think we as a company in the late 80s, there was a new product coming into the world, being laminate floors. So before that, it was you had parquet, and you could have solid or a 3-layer parquet, but that's basically it. In those days, late 80s, some people started producing laminate floor. Pergo was the first one. They really used a laminate, not a melamine paper, but a laminate to make a laminate floor. And laminate, of course, we all know from brands like Formica or some others. It's a very durable product. It was used in kitchen tops. People know it's hard, it's durable, so you can trust the product. What they didn't have at that time was a melamine board being turned into a laminate floor. They called it laminate. It wasn't a laminate. It was a melamine with an overlay, that being durable. And the fact that people started trusting a laminate floor or a melamine floor, my idea was if they walk on a 0.01 millimeter of paper and they trust that, why can't they trust them walking on a 0.6 veneer with a durable lacquer on top? So we started developing a product called Parquet, and which we started selling even on this show. Was our premiere, I think, in 1989, where we made tongue and groove parquet flooring. We made it in planks, and we developed products from there lacquered. So we started implementing lacquering technology, which, by the way, we already have in the time of my father, where we lacquered boards. We already had a little bit of finishing in our fingers, but we got much more into lacquering through UV lacquering processes, and at first without staining, and then at a later stage with the stains. And we saw people accepting the fact that, yes, you can walk on veneer. And they have to trust the lacquer. Don't trust the veneer. Veneer is there to show you the wood. Veneer is there for the character. Veneer is there for the warmth of the wood. But it's the lacquer that is going to make sure that you will not walk on wood, you will walk on the lacquer. That's, by the way, also the reason why we never made an oil product. Because on an oil product, you don't walk on the oil, you walk on the wood. And we didn't trust the quality of the oils in those days. That's why we kept on lacquering. And from there, new ideas came, and we got into Shinoki, and then Quercus was not a pre-finished product, but it was a veneered collection made out of oak differences, which we kind of streamlined. If we go back in time, if an architect came to us and said, what do you do? Our answer was always everything. But he said, what is that then? Well, we said everything.
They ask and you do.
And they asked, what can you do? I said, everything. So you can choose the thickness, you can choose the size, you can choose the dimension, you can choose the wood species, you can choose whatever you want, we're gonna make it. And one board is the minimum. We cannot make a half board, but one board we can make that. And that's how we reply to architects. We, however, noticed that by making collections, we didn't have to reply to that question anymore, because the architect looked at us and said, oh, okay, you can make that. And we did not have to tell the story anymore of, oh, we can do everything. We made choices. We gave and presented the choices to these people. And of course, some are still using our normal veneer board that they finish themselves and give a color or a stain or choose the wood species. But the collections made that we were able to determine what quality are we using from the start, what stain are we going to put on it, how are we going to splice it, are we going to brush it or not. So we could make choices that we did not make before.
And you made it more digestible for the customer in the meantime.
And of course, we had to make a choice for our customer. that oak or walnut or sapele is going to come in this color, because Shinoki determines the color, and they like it or they don't like it. So it's up to us to make very well aware choices so our customers like the colors we bring. They don't have to like all 16 or 18, but they have to like at least one, so they can choose the one they want. And that gave us another possibility, was to use species that nobody wants. We can choose the tree. We can choose the matching. We can choose the color. And if we make an appealing product, all of a sudden we get demand for wood species that nobody ever heard of.
Because people choose a look and they don't choose the wood species with a specific finish on top.
Indeed, correct.
Yeah. That is a very, very important feature indeed within our Shinoki line. Maybe jumping a bit to a different topic, not really jumping that much, but in your career, you've come across a lot of projects. You've come a lot of wood species and different types. Is there a project that is still deeply embedded in your memory, or is that more towards a wood species?
No, there are, of course, wood species that, how would I call it? They talk to you when you look at it. There are wood species that have so much character that they speak to you without words, which is warm, which is great, which is because they can talk to everybody without a word. And there are wood species that do not talk to you, but they have a story. They have a story that we need to tell before people appreciate the wood. And for instance, a species that can have enormous story is what they call in English bog oak, swamp oak, trees that are covered under mud and water in 5,000 years, that by accident come back at the surface, and then all of a sudden people start slicing it and you get a log that tells a story of 5,000 years. But by looking at it, you don't know that. You need to be told the story. And if we tell the story of bog oak to people, you see people standing in front of it and appreciating the art that we can see. Because you have to remember, a tree is a super beautiful natural product. And some trees have a shape and a form. If you look at it, they touch your heart. What we at Decospan do, we try to do the same thing with that tree, but from the inside. We slice and cut the tree. You see the inside of the heart, and that's what we bring to life. And that's why I say it doesn't matter what tree you get in front of you. If you look at the earrings, it's going to tell you from where it dates. And it's going to tell you the story of 100 years old or 200 years old. And remember, 200 years ago, we had the independence of Belgium. And 250 years ago, there was a guy named Napoleon living here. So if you start looking this way to wood, well, we have to sit down and appreciate it. And be thankful that there are people in the world that give us the chance to look at that natural beauty. Because that's the only thing we do. A tree is something, if we take good care of the forest, is regeneration. It's making sure that the tree reproduces itself. So our grandchildren may say, oh, that tree there, that originated when my great-grandfather started my company. Mm-hmm. I just hope that your kids and their kids might have the spirit and the character and the quality and the passion to continue the work we have. Because I think, no, I don't think that. I'm sure that there's going to be there's going to be a market for our product forever. There is no end to it. We have to make sure that the trees are going to be replanted. We have to make sure that they are going to be having the fruits of it. We have to take care of them, and our customers, let them enjoy the beauty of nature.
Yeah. And do you have a favorite wood species?
I love them all. I love them all.
I'm going to make you choose one now.
I love them all. I mentioned bog oak. It's certainly going to be in my first number 5s. It's only not enough available, and maybe that's the bad side of our world, is that sometimes people can fake bog oaks, the real bog oaks. They say it's 5,000 year old, but they just made it look like a bog oak.
Yeah.
So that's the bad side of it. But bog oak is definitely one. I should choose a species which is enough in volume available, because the terracottas of this world, and they are available but not in any volume. So if everybody would start looking for it, we don't want that, because it's not there. But a wood species like chestnut or cherry, walnut we all know, but birch, these are species which we can, by using their natural beauty and adding a touch of color onto it, stand out for us to enjoy.
And that's then the challenge on the next generation at Decospan to help bring that to life.
Well, of course, you made me an advisor, so I can't do it anymore. I only
You can advise.
Yeah, I only can give you some advice. Yes.
Yeah. But no, we take that advice and we definitely look at that as well.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
And your passion, maybe as a final question, your passion for wood, how does that translate today?
Well, the good thing about this is that I don't have to let it go. I still have it. It's something that will never disappear. The hugging the tree is something that is going to stay on probably till the last day. I might maybe make my own coffin so I can hug it before I get laid into it. But today I started using the exceptional trees that we cannot transform anymore into veneer, but a little big dimension trees which are harvested because of reasons. And I started making them into tabletops. So I do it not as a business, but as a passion. I don't sell tables. I sell, how do I call that in English? Gezelligheid.
Coziness, warmth.
I sell warmth, coziness. I sell emotion times with your friends when you sit at a table that has been made with love and passion, and that shows you the fruit of 200 years of labor that the tree has given us to make what it is.
It's a beautiful transition, and I can acclaim to it. Those tables are very beautiful, and they do help a lot with a lot of cozy dinners and warm dinners.
And I try to give them the right wording, because we all know that there is no perfectness in wood. The perfectness in wood is the fact that it's imperfect. So I call it perfect imperfections.
Well, I think that's a very beautiful key to end our podcast upon. I want to thank the listeners, and I hope that they felt all the passion here at the table today. If you want to know more about wood veneer, go visit our website, decospan.com. The link is in our show notes. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out through our website or our socials. Stay tuned for more podcasts to come.